waiting cause I'm about to ruin the image and the style that you're used to. I look funny, but yo, I'm making money, see? So yo, world, I hope you're ready for me. Now gather round. I'm the new fool in town, and my sound's laid down by the underground. I drink a bottle of Hennessy you got on your shelf, so just let me introduce myself. My name is Humpty, pronounced with the umpty. Yo, ladies, oh, how I like to funk thee. And all the rappers in the top 10, please allow me to bump thee. I'm stepping tall, y'all, and just like Humpty Dumpty,
welcome to the Clark Brothers. I'm Gary Johnson, aka Mr. Producer. Today is March 26th. We're all up in March Madness. We got a bunch of stuff going on. We got two guys from Philly in the house, and ain't nobody fighting yet. So we'll just see what happens. We're going to have some barroom arguments maybe. But Carlos, what's going on this week? It's your turn to show.
Look. I just want to say welcome to everybody on the show tonight. Thank y'all for joining. Thank y'all for coming down to be down with the Thought Brothers this week. Hey, look, every day when I turn on my radio in my car, when I turn on my TV, man, I can't believe that someone keeps exceeding my expectations in the world of politics. But the Trump administration keeps exceeding my expectations on the wow factor. Like, what can happen next? I'm not even sure what can happen next, but stuff keeps happening. Man, what's going on with the text messaging? Come on, man. You talk about people in the highest positions of national security don't know how to send an encrypted text or encrypted message or use government authorized products to communicate a message. What is going on? I got brothers that are around the corner or down there in Southeastern DC from my hometown that can send an encrypted message, and you never know what's on that message. It might come out 50 years from now. I think my man was sending a message that night, but I'm not sure. He encrypted it, but the federal government can't encrypt it. We got a reporter who they say they don't know how he got on the message. He got tagged. So, man, look, I don't know. It's crazy out there. How about this one? Then, just when I was trying to get over that, I heard that President Trump is going to put a 25% tariff on any automobiles made that are imported into the U.S. So if you're not building the automobiles here in the U.S., now he's saying that you can be a foreign automaker as long as your plant is here in the U.S. and you build them here, like I think you got Hyundai coming or whatever, and Hyundai's happening and a few others, then you won't get that 25% tariff. But there are even American automobiles that are made in foreign countries to save costs that are being imported, and those are actually will be subject to the 25% tariff as well. Man, with that being said, I don't even want to go into the rest of the political news. I'm going to go around and ask for you guys' opinion, and I promise to end on a happy note to talk about how my home state university, University of Maryland, a fine university that I once attended, has the men's and women's basketball teams in the Sweet 16. Now, that's the happiest thing I got going on right now. But let me go ahead and pass to Mike, hit the baton, to my man, Mr. Spivey. What's going on with your favorite guy, Trump? What's happening?
Well, Carlos, you got to look at the people that you are talking about. Look at the person who's at the helm. The person who's at the helm is unqualified. He is the least educated, most unqualified president in history. And what does he do? He goes out and he gets a weekend talk show host to make him Secretary of Defense to replace a position that has always been basically occupied by generals. He goes out and, he takes one of the congressmen who I don't think he's ever did anything substantial and makes him Secretary of State. So when you look at the people that he appointed, why would you expect them to be able to do encrypted text when they can barely do their job? That's the first thing. Second thing is, I just want to run a few things by the guys. And, at this point in time, this country is in a real shambles. I think here in the DMV, we've had, 30,000 people to lose their jobs. not going to be able to make the mortgage payments, not going to be able to put food on the table, going to lose their cars. And you got a president who, you talk about people not being able to text. He's doing executive orders to require paper straws to get rid of plastic. So now you talk about not being able to text. This is a man who signs executive orders in a Sharpie. That's what your daughter used and my daughter used when they were in elementary school when they were drawing. He turns around, and I don't know if you're familiar with the place here. It's a very well-known place called the Uvahazi Center. And it has the space shuttle, the splashdown where Glenn and all of the other astronauts years ago used. And, you can go in and they have like a tour where you can get in and you're like in a spaceship going to the moon. He is removing a very, very important aircraft called the Enola Gay. That is the aircraft that dropped the atomic bomb on Japan back in 1940. He's removing the plane from the Uvahazi Center because the last name on the plane is Gay. And he does not like the term gay. So that's why he's removing the plane. Consequently, he's did the same thing at the Pentagon. All of African Americans who have had significant contributions at the Pentagon, what is he doing? He's removing their web pages. Jackie Robinson, the first Black man to break the color barrier in baseball, served in the military, honorably discharged. And last but not least, he's a guy by the name of Major General Charles C. Rogers was removed from the defense website. Nixon awarded him the Medal of Honor. That's one of the highest medals you can get. He was a commander in Vietnam, wounded 3 times, and he's removing all of his stuff. And what he does with these people, when he removes their webpage, he says in their place, DEI. So what I'm saying is, you find it interesting that these people don't know how to do encrypted texts. This is the level of mentality that you're dealing with. So when you have someone at the helm that likes mentality and intelligence, you can understand that the people that he selects is the same way. I'm like you, I'm perplexed, and I'm sure CJ has got a whole list of stuff that he can drop on us. So CJ, it's all yours, brother.
Come on, CJ.
Sure. It's plenty of places.
He's even smiling. He got so much.
Can y'all hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we heard you.
So, yeah, as for the national security breach, you said a lot of it yourself. We have a Fox News host that is the Secretary of Defense. As the comedian Kev on Stage said, they're basically planning a war like they were planning a group chat to Cancun. They're just over here just texting, classified information over Signal, which is crazy. Like they have classified avenues to do this, but they're just chatting it up and like they're on WhatsApp or something, just having a guy's trip talking about bombing Yemen and just saying some sociopathic stuff in the test. They were applauding leveling a whole building that had maybe one operative in it. And they said they collapsed the whole building and they're like, yeah, hell yeah, yeah, yeah. That's great. You murdered a bunch of innocent men, women and children to get one guy. Very, very, very impressive. But beyond that, I think the biggest takeaway, is what you touched upon. It's not that these people are bad people. They are. But it's the incompetence. It is the raw incompetence to have such a stupid mistake on such a, these are supposed to be the most qualified people, quote unquote, in the country that he picked, and they're morons, and they're obvious morons, and it kind of erases that myth of meritocracy in America that the people at the top are all the most qualified and the smartest making the best decisions. So that's obviously not the case. Beyond that, they're destroying Social Security. I heard that mentioned. Elon and Doge. I have Doge crippling the Social Security Administration. They crashed the website, crashed 4 times in 10 days. A lot of the Americans who depend on Social Security are complaining to AARP Trump's Commerce Secretary went on TV and said that if his grandma misses her Social Security check, she wouldn't even notice. They would just think it's a mistake and don't worry about it. There might be some missing checks, but don't worry. But, most of the people won't even feel. So they're just setting the table and, giving away the game of what they're going to do. Elon Musk called all those Social Security and Medicaid entitlements that need to be taken care of so they can give themselves more tax breaks. But the scarier part of the Trump administration is what they're doing to the First Amendment and free speech, and with no due process. They continue to abduct students with their Gestapo, basically, on these universities on behalf of the Israeli government. And they're rounding up students, and a video has come out today of the latest incident of this, and it's terrifying. There are a bunch of, the cops are wearing masks. They're wearing masks, and they roll up on you, a bunch of masked cops in plain clothes. They handcuff you, they take you away, they snatch you, and they take you to an undisclosed location. That's what's happening under Trump's America, and they're testing it out. They started with a green card holder. Now they've moved on to American citizens under the guise that, they're anti-Semitic. They're against the national. They invoke some old ass act that they haven't used since the World War II or something to justify rounding up these people with no due process. And they're just taking any student that is pro-Palestine is likely to be abducted and sent to God knows where without any due process by masked plainclothes cops under the Trump order. So if that doesn't scare the hell out of everybody, it should, because they're testing the waters. For anybody that disagrees with the Trump administration is now a terrorist. If you key a Tesla, you're a terrorist. If you do anything, if you say anything against the ridiculous genocide that's going on, you're a terrorist. I had to watch a video on my feed of a child trying to put pieces of his mother back in a bag because they got blown up in an Israeli airstrike while they were praying at a mosque. This is happening every single day with our tax dollars. The Trump administration is supporting this, and it's even worse than it was under Biden. So that's the state of politics. But yeah, Maryland won. Shout out to Maryland.
Wow. Omar, what Omar got? Come on, Omar. CJ, that was awesome, man. What Omar got? Come on, Omar. I know you got to give it to us, brother. Come on.
Yeah, I just want to see how, the people react over the next 4 years of this administration. So I want to see how many heroes how many warriors we're going to create, how many new politicians that are going to strengthen up, how many people are going to get prepared. Because I'm looking at, okay, we know we got 4 years of this. He's going to try to fight to get another 4 years. Well, my 2 years were broken up. I didn't get to do the straight. He's going to try. But I have to really look at what is going to happen over the next 3 or 4 years with the people responding. Because right now I don't feel any heroes right now. I don't see anybody jumping out in front. And we're only in March. So we're only in the first 3 months. But by the time we get to July, I want to start seeing who's going to start, jumping in the limelight to do something. Now, if Trump says, looking at this thing and saying, all right, I'm going to take all their money away and they're going to be all fearful, then we got to see by year 2 and 3, if anybody can get their money together where they can go ahead and be in opposition of them, because it can't be just a money thing. I don't have the money, so I can't go to war. Somebody's going to have money to go to war against Trump. So I'm just going to watch what's going on and do what I can do. But we got to see who's going to be prepared to take the weight, as we say. Who's going to take the weight? And so I'm just going to keep watching to see what type of, new political leaders are going to jump out of the forefront in the next 2, 3, 4 years of Donald Trump, because somebody has to do something. And I'm going to wait and see. I'm not a politician on that level, but I have to see somebody that is going to take the realm and say, you know what, I'm going to elect myself to jump out front, as Barack Obama said, the audacity. I love that daggone title of his book, The Audacity of Hope. I want to see who has the audacity to stand up over the next 3, 4 years of Donald Trump, because we have not felt that yet. And I want to see who has the audacity to stand up to try and be the next leader.
Omar, let me tell you this, guys. Donald Trump is a political gangster. I mean, he is just doing whatever he wants, whenever he wants. And as long as you don't oppose him and you fall in line, you're not on his radar. You know what I'm saying? So the people who are protesting, the people who want to have free speech, they're on his radar. The people who want to oppose him, the people who want to tell him that, he should not be calling for a federal judge's impeachment. The people who are opposing him are definitely on his radar. So I think that what we're looking at, man, I don't see any heroes on the forefront. I think Stephen A. Smith has a better chance right now because he has media. He's got media cred than anybody else. No one's stepping up. Like I said, we had a political town hall here in Prince George's County about a couple of weeks ago, and I spoke about it on last week's show. But one of our well-respected, well-loved politicians was there, a Democrat holding the town hall. And he came in and he was his usual, very professional self. And somebody just jumped up and said, you coming in here saying that you are speaking calm and collected. Well, I can't pay my bills. It's chaos out there right now. Every day the Republicans are doing something. What are we going to do? So I think that, that's the mentality of most Americans. The Republicans are doing something every single day that no Democrat is opposing. I mean, they say they're opposing, but by the time they oppose and they have several conference calls or several press conferences on one topic, Trump has put out 5 more new topics. You can't catch up with Trump. Man, come on, guys. What else we got out there?
Let me get Chauncey and then CJ. Go ahead, Chauncey.
Go ahead, Chauncey. What's up?
Okay, I'll say this because I come from a different perspective because I spent 39 years, 8 months, and 11 days in the Department of Defense. I worked in the Pentagon. My whole career was the Department of Defense. There's some things I cannot talk about because my clearance is still active. I do have a lot of conversations with Gary on a daily basis. You talk about impact. Sometime before this show is over tonight, I personally have impact because my son, who had past tense, a defense contract, will be moving into my house tonight. He's on an airplane now. He's coming from DC to my house. I'm not an advocate of children moving back home, but we don't have a choice. So I know how classified, secret, and top secret stuff is passed because I had to do it on a daily basis. And the lack of intelligence at the secretary level is just blowing my mind. The thing that concerns me is they took a sledgehammer, or they're taking a sledgehammer, to tear all this stuff apart. I designed a program for DOD, and it took me 4 years to design it. If they tear it apart, how many years is it going to take to put it back together? If they can ever put it back together. We're worrying about what they're tearing apart. We need to be concerned as to, can they put something back together that makes sense? The other thing that I cannot talk about, Gary knows it, and I'll talk about it in private, not online, is I had something very interesting happen to me with Social Security last month. And I read on my feed this morning that Social Security made a mistake for 70 million people and overpaid them, and they are going into their bank accounts to take the money back. Therefore, I spent today moving money. So that just gives you some, I tease a lot, I joke a lot, particularly with being a little younger than Bill Spivey. But I know how, and Bill, he did the FBI. Gary did CIA. I did DOD. And the spaghetti, and I use that word intentionally, the spaghetti we had at DOD, once you unravel it, I don't know how you're going to put it back together. And he has nobody in office smart enough to know how to put it back together. And those of us that have retired, I'm not going back to help put anything back together. I want no parts of anything. Matter of fact, the only thing I'm doing is worrying about my next check. Because hunger and stress are real. I'm finished, Gary.
Okay,
Well,
CJ, you wanted to have a comment?
Yeah, just real quick. There are a few things. So one, this is the first generation in American history where people's children are not financially better off than they were,
Yeah,
despite the productivity of
that's right.
corporations exploding and us being the most profitable country of all time. And corporate profits have advanced over and over and over and keep going up, but they're just hoarding it in CEO pay and stocks, and it's not trickled down to anybody. So this is the first time in American history. Goes back to your point of why a lot of people are moving back in with their parents, and that's it for this generation and things like that. Because this is the first time economically that this generation is doing worse than the one that preceded it. So that's some of these systems maybe shouldn't be put back together because maybe they weren't working so well in the first place. Not that they should be so recklessly torn down by the Trump administration with nothing to replace them with, but at the same time, it seems like the neoliberal kind of Bill Clinton kind of moving the Democrats to the right was not a great idea. And it led us to where we are now, where we basically just have a Republican government that controls everything and will control everything. And for the Democratic side, the frustration is palpable. And what's even more frustrating is there is one politician fighting back, just maybe two, if you count AOC going on the tour. But Bernie Sanders is selling out more than he did when he was actually running for president. He's selling out stadiums and he's railing against the oligarchy and breaking down how Elon Musk and Donald Trump are robbing people. And he's going to middle America. He's going to Nebraska. He's going to North Dakota, and he's filling up stadiums at 30, 40,000 people. And they're still excited about the guy who the Democrats killed his campaign twice. It just shows you what could have been if they had just let Bernie win. And I say let him win because naturally that was going to happen if they didn't tilt the scales. We would be looking at an entirely different country. And the fact that Bernie still has so much popularity, so much more than anybody on the Democratic side, they're all getting yelled at and drop kicked at town halls. And Bernie's going from stadium to stadium like a rock star. And it's not like he's charismatic. It's not like he is a dynamic young man out here. He's over here just doing what he has done for his entire career, laying out what should be done, what the Democrats' agenda should be. And so there is a little bit of hope in that end, but there's not hope because we see how the Democrats view Bernie Sanders and people on that side of the fence. They despise them. They gave AOC's committee seat to a 78-year-old and who I haven't even seen since. So they don't even have a presence. Like you said, they're trying to put Jasmine Crockett in the back now because she's getting attacked by the right for being too spicy. So now, with her Governor Hot Wheels comment and things like that. So they're trying to attack her on that. And they're going to put one of their best fighters on the bench because that's what they do. They're not there to fight. They're there to allow the Republicans to do what they want to do. So there's just that. So we can't discount that there is a blueprint on how to fight back against Trump. They had the momentum to do that, but they decided to put in the corpse of Joe Biden instead. And this is where we're at now.
CJ, one of the things you talked about with the crowds, one of the things that they don't tell a lot of people, a lot of those people in Bernie's crowds now are Republicans who are suffering the hardship of the lies that Donald Trump told them. And a lot of them are standing behind Bernie. And, Omar, you brought up something and you were talking about you were waiting to see who's going to step forward. I sincerely believe that the Democrats will not go back into the White House in the next 10 to 20 years. And I think the only way that you're going to get anything back in the White House is going to have to be an independent like Bernie Sanders and another party. Because I just my personal feeling, I feel like the Democrats have lost all confidence of Democratic voters. I mean, when you have a bill that's coming up before Congress and it's going to take away SNAP program, and it's going to decimate a lot of the American people. And the Democrats can hold up the bill. They can block the bill. And you have someone like Chuck Schumer who tells them that they should vote for the bill for the betterment of the American people. And 10 people vote and pass the bill. I just believe the confidence in them. And I believe that how do you want to put it? People believing in them. I think that's gone. And I think it's constantly eroding every day when they don't put up a fight against Donald Trump. And when you have people like Jasmine Crockett and AOC who are out here fighting, and Jasmine Crockett, let it be told, she's doing some town halls in Republicans' districts, and they are inviting her, and they're raving about her because, as we say on this program, and I've said many times, it's sad when people vote against their own interests. And a lot of these people voted against their own interests, these farmers and everyone else, and now they're suffering because they thought that a billionaire had their best interests at heart, and they believed the comment.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Spivey, let me say something. I saw an interview because you mentioned SNAP. It was conducted in Alabama,
Mm-hmm.
and the white lady said, I did not think this was going to happen to us. She lost her SNAP. Nobody has ever looked at who really gets SNAP. She said, I didn't think this was going to happen to us. My question was, who is?
Well, Chauncey, this election, a lot of people
Gary
voted for Donald Trump. You and I are back during the same time. And I just wonder, do they still teach civics in school anymore? I mean, why would you believe that a man tells you, I'm going to get rid of DEI. I'm going to have mass immigration. I'm going to deport Latinos and Mexicans and that type of thing. Why would you think that he's going to get rid of DEI, but he's going to only get rid of the Black people involved in DEI? I mean, you have to be totally ignorant to believe that. Number one, the majority of people on DEI are white women. The second largest number on DEI are white men. And then it goes to transgender, it goes to Asians, it goes to all of the other races. And guess who's at the bottom of the barrel of DEI? African Americans.
We are.
So when you
we
vote, we are at the bottom of the barrel of DEI. But Donald Trump tries to make everything about DEI about Black folks, when the majority of the people on DEI are white women and white men. And then you vote for him,
I agree.
and you think the DEI is not going to affect you. You have to be ignorant, to put it mildly.
Well, they want to get rid of the Department of Education.
Yeah.
That's what con men do. Con men con people.
I saw an interview recently where it's a lady and her husband. They have a construction company down in Florida. They voted for Donald Trump. And she's saying, I voted for Donald Trump, and now we're going to have to shut down our business because we have a construction business. 95% of our employees are Latino, and they are refusing to come to work because they're scared they're going to be snatched up by ICE. So I say to her, what did you think? He's going to deport all Mexicans and Latinos unless you work for white people? That's stupid. You had to be eat up with the dumbass to vote for it.
Also, do you know how they're trying to mitigate the loss of the immigrant workers in Florida in particular? Is they're going to pass new child labor laws that allow children to do child labor instead on school nights, I believe, which was the law that they couldn't do, the students couldn't work jobs on school nights to a certain time. They're going to get rid of all that so you can have 15 and 16-year-olds working in dangerous jobs instead on school nights. So let's bring back child labor. That's great.
Wow. Hey, I noticed that, as I go into my local convenience store to get my cup of coffee in the morning or my snack or my fruit or whatever, I'm trying to eat healthy now and all that good stuff. There are several signs on the doors now that talk about how they're hiring. And I did notice that when I went in, I used to see quite a few people from the Latino community. I'm not seeing hardly any now. Like I'm maybe one when it was like 5 or 6 before. And I'm like, what is going on? So now like that's being affected. I think fast food is now being affected. Some of the retail jobs are now being affected. I had a couple guys who said that, some of the construction sites obviously are being affected. Jobs that Donald Trump's children won't do. And let's face it, I mean, African Americans in this country have gotten so much more educated than they were 50, 60 years ago. The level of college graduates is off the charts. And not only the bachelor's, we're talking about, a lot of African Americans are now working towards their masters, and some doctorates. I know three or four people right now that work towards their doctorate or recently got it. So what I'm saying is those people aren't working in the convenience stores or the fast food stores or working on a construction site. No. So I think that we're going to have several problems that are going to occur from everything that's going on. And the worst part about it is this is what you're seeing on the surface. So we, like Omar was saying, a year into it, 2 years into it, what do we see then? I mean, do we start to see establishments close because they can't staff the establishment? Okay, so you're going to, and then that becomes another issue for the people of that community. If they don't have a grocery store where they have workers, or they don't have a pharmacy or convenience store with people who are willing to work these odd jobs and different crazy hours and things of that nature. So it's really a 360 effect. The question is, can anybody stand up? And that question leads to, if you stand up and oppose Trump, you really need to have some money and power, right? Because you're seeing exactly what CJ mentioned, how people who oppose Trump are being handled. So, I mean, we literally almost need Oprah Winfrey to run for president. I think she's got enough money and support throughout the country to probably make a name. But I know she probably, based on her past interviews and comments, she's not going to run. But we literally need somebody so powerful with so much money that would actually scare Trump. And because anybody else who is an average person would probably get blackmailed or blackballed out of the campaign. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Well, Carlos, keep in mind one thing. The people with that amount of money, Trump is taking care of them.
Yeah.
He's giving them tax breaks and everything else. So Trump is taking care of the people that have that kind of money. They're in that 1% or 2% class. So why are they going to rock the boat and run against Donald Trump?
Yeah, they're going to get.
You got to keep that in mind. Money sticks with money.
I will say, have anybody seen the candidate? There's a mayor, the mayor race in New York City. There's Andrew Cuomo, the terrible. He had the nursing home scandal, all that. He's awful. He is the top candidate, but there's another candidate who's been making waves, and he is a young dude named Zoran Mondani. I'm sorry, but he has been making waves in this race because he's running basically as a socialist openly. He's basically running, and one of his ideas that has caught a lot of traction is he wants to create a public option for grocery stores, to have a government run grocery stores that don't run for a profit motive, that run from the government money of taxes, and then give people a cheaper option that's not looking to inflate from advertising, like a super version of Aldi. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like where they're not using the cost, they're not, enriching their shareholders. It is just a state run, and it won't interfere if you still want to go to Whole Foods and go to a nice grocery store, but giving people a public option where food is cheaper, and doing that with all types of things like healthcare and all that, to give people a safety net. And a lot of people thought his campaign would be crazy. They'll never elect a socialist. I believe he's number 2 in the polls now. He's gotten a lot of traction running on the campaign of making working class people's lives livable. And that is the messaging, as was said before, that Bernie Sanders style kind of messaging is what's going to resonate against Trump. It's going to have to be the masses against those few rich people. Because as Mr. Spivey said, those rich people, they're in the Trump camp. All those billionaires, those multinational corporations, all that money is that they're working for the Democrats and the Republicans. Honestly, they're taking all that corporate money. So it's the only path out of this is candidates of this style that are going to be like, we need the power of the people and the sheer number of people and the fact that these multinational corporations can't make profit without the huge amount of people. And that's the only leverage that we have left.
I was telling everybody I'd asked you, because of my respect for the Thought Brothers, let's see if we can get Jasmine Crockett on.
Oh, yeah. See if we can get Jasmine Crockett on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I think she would do it.
I'm working. I'm working on it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Dunham. We appreciate your kind words, and that would be fantastic. I think that's a great idea. Gary, you got any magic left in the tank, man? You can get us going with Jasmine Crockett.
I'll do what I can do, man.
I know.
I got Chauncey Dunham on. Shoot, I got Omar on.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. That's right. That's right.
I admire that young lady because she's like a person on an island by herself.
Yes.
But she's not getting any support from Chuck Schumer, from any of those Democrats, young or old. And it's like they're just afraid. And she and AOC, they're like two on an island.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Before we close out, Carlos did raise the specter of sports. Let's just hit a couple of sports topics. Carlos, real quick, nothing fancy. I heard something about the New York Giants' new quarterback. I
didn't think Pittsburgh was going to let him go.
Oh, goodness.
I'll give you 60 seconds. I ain't going to mess around. All right, man. Jameis Winston to the New York Giants. He'll probably be the starter. Russell Wilson to the New York Giants. Look, Russell got a beautiful wife, got a beautiful family. I'm thinking Russell probably got $50 million in the bank. Hey, it's all right to retire. You got a Super Bowl ring. Russell Wilson, it's all right to retire, man. Go ahead. Just chill. I don't know why you want to go play for the Giants. Anyway, well, I'll leave that alone. Now, I want to give a thumbs up to Maryland basketball, men's and women's. They get a thumbs up, okay? They're both in the Sweet 16. That is like the greatest thing for the state of Maryland that's happened recently. So both teams in the Sweet 16. I'm going to give a thumbs down to, what's my man, Dan Hurley, the coach of the defending NCAA champion Connecticut Huskies. What's my man Dan Hurley doing up there? Was he threatening reporters or something because his team lost? They got a video going viral. It says UConn Communications Director Bobby Mullen has apologized to a Charlotte sports reporter for allegedly threatening to ruin his life after he posted an unflattering video of Huskies coach Dan Hurley in the aftermath of the team's crushing second-round March Madness loss to Florida on Sunday. Well, I'll just say, Dan Hurley, you're obviously a good coach. You got a couple national championships. But if you're trying to mentor young people, take a loss with as much grace as you would take a victory. That's harder to say, but it's not like you've never won the NCAA championship. You got to be an example to young people. If you do this, a kid might grow up and become president and think it's okay to throw a tirade. Just saying. What you got, Mr. Spivey?
Well, Dan Hurley, I don't know if you missed it, but Dan Hurley was on 60 Minutes about a month ago. And Dan Hurley, I put him in the same category as Bobby Knight. He's got a few screws missing. And as far as your Maryland Terrapins, they did make it to the Sweet 16, but they better play a whole lot better than they did against the Colorado Rams, because they won that game by 1 point. And you ain't going in the Sweet 16 not playing like that. I mean, you got Duke, you got Florida Gators, you got Auburn and Houston Cougars. I mean, and then Arizona. Let's not forget about Arizona. So they got to tighten up their game if they want to move on from the Sweet 16. And as far as Russell Wilson, I think you're going to have the identical same situation you had at Pittsburgh with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, because I think Russell Wilson will end up starting because
Jameis Winston is at New York Giants. Justin Fields is at New York Jets.
No, but I'm saying the same situation you had at Pittsburgh with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. And you're going to have Jameis Winston at the Giants, and you're going to have Russell Wilson there. And Jameis Winston, I just don't think can hold up through a season. And I think Russell will end up being the starting quarterback. The same has happened in Pittsburgh.
All right, CJ, you on the Sports Talk 1450 AM. Shameless plug for you. And we get to Omar and Chauncey. Go ahead.
Yeah, for the Russell Wilson thing, I mean, he's absolutely going to be the starter. They signed him to be the starter, not Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston was signed to be a backup. And you can look at the money. You ask why Russell Wilson signed with the New York Giants. $21 million is the reason why he signed with the New York Giants to get his last big contract potentially before he retires. So I ain't mad at that. You know, that's a team that has Malik Neighbors. That's a decent situation, just quarterback wise, not a great team overall, but. So I think that's all that is, and he might lose his job to Jameis, but I don't think so. Jameis will throw 30 interceptions, so I think you're better off with Russell Wilson than Jameis Winston. Although they're going to be fighting for that pregame motivational speech every game, which is going to be great. The two most motivational speakers. But beyond that, in terms of the sports news and things like that, there is one thing that I did want to touch upon that we touched upon on our radio show and Talk to Trey Sports Report on 1450 AM 11 to 1 every Sunday, where we talked about RG3. I don't know if you heard about RG3 getting dragged all across every corner of the internet for his Jackie Robinson take, but he criticized Mina Kimes for having a story talking about Mina Kimes is talking about how the Trump administration was erasing Jackie Robinson's legacy on some of the websites and things like that. And she was, but Robert wanted to step out and say that Jackie Robinson's legacy wasn't political and they need to stop talking about politics on sports shows. And everyone rightfully dragged him across the internet for that horrendous take because he's saying, well, you know, Jackie Robinson was just a good baseball player and it had nothing to do with his race, even though segregation was literally the law at the time. And that is the biggest, you know, reason why Jackie Robinson is even known by most normal people. But sure, he's just saying keep the politics out of sports, not the Trump part. The Trump part apparently was not political. Trump taking Jackie Robinson off of every government website, but Mina Kimes mentioning it was somehow pushing a political agenda. And RG3 has tap danced around this kind of MAGA love before. He's has a lot of Twitter posts. Hey, this is a safe space. What do you guys think about what Trump's doing? You know, no judgment here. Safe space for who? Safe space for who, Robert? The racist and MAGA. So he's done this before, but he's just getting eviscerated by everybody, rightfully so, for trying to say that nothing in sports is political unless it serves his agenda, basically.
Well, unfortunately, Mr. RG3 has to go home every night, so maybe that has something to do with it. Omar.
Good point.
I want to pivot to the ladies basketball. Of course, I'm going to be rooting for Dawn Staley in South Carolina always, but I want to give prayers out to Juju Watkins, who ended up tearing her ACL on Monday night with University of Southern California. I mean, I was really looking forward to seeing some fabulous women's basketball. They still got some great games coming. Because we know them better than we know the guys now. The only guy I know is Flag, who's going to be going straight to the NBA, as another great white hope, but he can ball, you know what I mean? So he's coming in. But the women's game, Juju Watkins going down. And I saw when she fell, I was watching the game Monday night, and I said, please don't tell me. So I really feel for that young woman. She was about to break the points total. She's number 2 now, first 2 years. But the women's game is really stronger than the men's game because they get a chance for us to know them. They get 3 and 4 years of college ball where we actually know who they are instead of jumping ship and going straight pro now. So I want to give a shout out to the women's game, and I will be watching Dawn Staley's crew in South Carolina. But I give prayers out to Southern California and Juju Watkins.
Okay.
Yeah. Juju is amazing too. She is better than Caitlin Clark, just for the people who don't watch women's college basketball. Like, Juju is the truth. She is like, if Caitlin Clark is Steph Curry, then Juju is like Kobe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chauncey, you got the last word, Chauncey Dunham.
In my house, I have an apron with that when I'm cooking. It says Eagles. I have a cup when I'm drinking my coffee. It says Eagles. I have a blanket that goes on my bed. It says Eagles. What else would you like me to say?
Right on, brother.
Hey.
And with that
Before,
said,
let me
go ahead.
let me do this before we close. Seriously, you guys, the Thought Brothers, you don't realize how enlightening you are. The three different perspectives based on age and status is thrilling people. All the people that I send the link to, some of them I send to Gary, some of them I don't, but they do comment. They are so excited that Thursday morning, they drive me insane saying, "Oh, you didn't send me an email. Where's my link?" So thank you guys. And guess what? I will not give up my presidency of the fan club because I'm going to stay the president. And we're going to get Jasmine Crockett. All right, Gary, you got it.
All right. All right. So with that said, we gave you a lot to think about this week. And thanks to our special guests, Omar Tyree and the president of fan club, Chauncey Dunham. We got a lot to think about. We talked about a lot of serious things, but we ended on a good note with sports because we have to have balance. You know, if not, the chaos in the world will drive us crazy. So I'm Gary Johnson for the Thought Brothers, and until next week, we're out of here.
Good night.
Take care, folks. Have a good week.
I limped to the side like my leg was broken, shaking and twitching, kinda like I was smoking. Crazy, whack, funky. People say you look like MC Hammer on crack, Humpty. That's alright, cause my body's in motion. It's supposed to look like a fit or a convulsion. Anyone can play this game. This is my dance, y'all. Humpty Hump's my name. No two people will do it the same. You got it down.